Get in, friend, because today I want to talk about what does your self-care routine look like. So if you were around for the vlogcast last week, I talked about moving into the fall season. I talked about time, what we do with our time, how we spend our time, and why having intentional things to fill our time is really important. And mainly it's just because time runs out. And here in this human experience and in these human bodies, we are on an allotted amount of time. And we don't particularly know how long that time is. But one thing that is for certain is that each one of us is going to run up the clock on this thing called life. So I talked about how I have been trying to be way more intentional about how I spend my time, about the people that I spend my time with, about what I'm doing with my time. And the question that we asked at the end of the vlogcast was, how do you want to spend your time? How do you want to spend your time? What do you want to be doing with your time? Like, if money wasn't a factor, if responsibilities weren't a factor, right? Because understandably, we have lives to live, we have bills to pay. So, of course, there are some things that we're probably doing with our time that we don't want to. But if those two major things that contribute to our time were not a factor, what would you be wanting to do with your time? I shared about how I have been slowing down just a little bit and some of the things that I have been incorporating into my fall morning routine as we just entered into the fall season that are helping me to be really intentional about my time spent in the morning. And so as I thought about that, I thought about motherhood, right? Especially for those of us mamas who have smaller or, dare I say, just younger children at home in general, because getting time to yourself is kind of like a catch 22 when you are momming it. I also am speaking directly to my solo parent moms. So I am a solo parent. If you have never been to my vlogs before, or if you are new to the vlogcast, I have four children. They are 19, 15, 9, and 8. And my husband passed away almost 2 years ago. So I have been a solo parent for going on 2 years now. And it has been a difficult and strange transition, to say the least. So, for starters, my spouse was not the biological father of my two oldest daughters. And so their father had not been around. And before I met my spouse, I was a single parent. And they were younger, but it felt really different back then. For some reason, being a single parent back then versus being what I like to call a solo parent now is a completely and utterly different ballgame. And granted, there are certain scenarios that go into making why this journey through solo parenting is slightly different from me being a single parent before. However, nonetheless, I'm doing this thug thizzle by myself. There is no one else to consult with. There is no one else to help contribute. There is no one else to pick up the slack. And there is no one else to pick up the financial slack. And so when I think about that, all of those other things are probably a topic for another day. But one of the main things that becomes so important for me being in this space is my self-care and my me time. How often are you taking me time? And as a mom and as a solo parent or a single parent, if that is you, are you making sure that your me time is a non-negotiable? So we all know what non-negotiables are, but I watched this TikTok video a couple of months ago, and one of the people that were in the video were talking about the different things that were non-negotiables on their list. Things that no matter what, every single day or every month or whatever the frequency is, they're going to get done because they're not up for debate or negotiation. And so I found that really interesting because I thought to myself, like, wow, I think that there are some things that I need to start taking into account into my own life that are non-negotiables. When my spouse first passed away, like there were a lot of different circumstances surrounding what was going on at the time. And at that time, I was actually kind of already gearing up to sort of be like on my own with the kids, but he was always going to be in their life. Their father was excellent. And there's one thing about him that everybody like knew about him or of him, and that was the simple fact that this man was about his children. Regardless of any of the circumstances that maybe derailed our marriage or, the things that he could have been into, within his own personal battles and struggles, which we all go through, it never stopped him from showing up and showing out and doing the very best that he could with what he had for his children. I mean, he pretty much talked to them just about every single day. So when he passed away, it was like this sudden and very abrupt stop and change to the way that our lives went. And all of a sudden, I went from being this wife, this mother, this parent who was just already trying to navigate through some very difficult changes in my life to being a grieving mother and solo parent to grieving children. So it almost is like, let's go ahead and add insult to injury. Why don't we? But with that being said, the first year after a significant loss as such is really just a blur. It's almost like as if you are just moving on sheer God and adrenaline, is what I like to say, because nothing is making sense. There's a numbness there that just, it doesn't make sense. You're not even all there. Like I was there, but I don't think that I was there, right? There's a difference between being there and then there's a difference between being present. And I can probably definitely in hindsight say that I don't think that throughout that first year I was very present. And I can recognize that really easily when I look at my children and I feel like, where the fuck did the time go? Like, how are you already this big? Or how, it's like their little features and their sizes and just so many things have changed in the last couple of years that it's like, where did the time go? And I've been right here the whole time, but I can feel like, where the heck even was I in all of this? So sometimes that feels like an added level of stress. Solo parenting is a different ballgame in the sense that every single thing falls on me. And when you're in relationship and when you're in partnership or when you have a partner to parent with, I think that we can make choices and decisions that we can get feedback on. I can call or you can have a partner that's right there to say, let me tell you about what your son just did. While you were at work, this is what happened at home. And now, we navigate this as a team. Like we come into this together. We make the decision on what we're going to do. Or just flat out, you can be like, I'm telling your dad when he gets home. And you send it off to dad to do the disciplining and you can go on about your business. And so those things don't exist when there's no one partnered with you in your parenting journey. And that can be really difficult. All of this stuff can cause a lot of stress and a lot of tension to build up within the body, just period, because often there's not an outlet for it. And so after watching this video, I questioned what are some of the outlets that I have that I do all the time that contribute to like my mental health and my well-being. And I realized that I didn't really have any. I had recently gotten a gym membership because I was on this mission to try to lose at least 15 pounds before my 40th birthday. And that already was a thing in and of itself. But even in getting the gym membership, I have to recalibrate things because it turns into what is the most reasonable time for me to go to the gym. I can't go in the middle of the day because I homeschool. I can't just go, certain times of the morning. I can't go certain times of the night. And so there's all of these sort of what feel like restrictions to my own personal desires and to my own personal life because I am a mom. And so, yes, I've chosen this, right? Like, these are my responsibilities, and I 1000% understand that. But it is also a responsibility of mine, as well as yours, if you're a mom or if you're a dad, to also find time to take care of yourself. So it goes back to that whole idea of if you are not, filling your own cup, and if your own cup is not full, how then are you able to pour into anybody else? And so I noticed that throughout this last couple of years of grieving and of just really trying to find my footing in the world again, to find an identity in the world again after everything came toppling down, to try to set up the structures of a foundation for my life after all of it had been ripped to dust. And in doing that, it's like I noticed that my cup was not full. I noticed that my cup was, in fact, some days not even half full. And I recognized that I am not showing up in the best version of myself. And so, two things. One, I had to give myself some grace because I am also navigating terrains that I have never experienced before, right? Like, nobody really knows the depth of the things that I've been through over the course of the last 3 years, because in the 9 months or so leading up to my husband's passing, things were already on shaky ground. So there's a lot that was going on for me in my personal life, in my emotional sphere, and just in my mental in general. That was already kind of maybe what I would consider to be slightly tragic. So I was already navigating that. And then on top of that, now I am having to navigate through this loss. I am having to still be present in a way that is there for my grieving children. So it's just so much that was going on. But I noticed that I'm not showing up in the best version of myself. I noticed that I am not giving to the four individuals that need me to be on top of my game in the way that I want to, and in the way that they deserve, and in the way that I used to. Because I have to go back and remember that there was once a time where I was partnered and there was help. And so I was able to take more time to myself and tend to the care that I needed as well so that I could show up for all of them. And so in the absence of that, it's like now I'm stressed because I'm not even showing up as a good person, it felt like, anymore. So I seen this video. They're talking about these non-negotiables. And so I decided that I am going to have quiet mornings again. So last week I talked about my fall morning routine. But if you've been around my YouTube channel for any amount of time, morning routines were kind of a video style and format that I would make content around all the time. We have our spring morning routines, our summer morning routines, the fall and winter morning routines, the holiday morning routines, right? And granted that these were all sort of like content concepts, but filming those as concepts for content also really made me think about, okay, what is it that I actually am doing in the morning? And how am I actually flowing through my morning? And what is it that I want to do? And a lot of times I would use those pieces of content as motivation to make sure that I was following exactly what I was saying my morning routine was. There were many, 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 many trials through waking up early for me. Waking up early for me has been one of those things that I have consistently over the years tried to incorporate into my life. And it is this idea of like the 5 a.m. morning, right? getting up really early in the morning, well before the house wakes up, so that I can have my tea or coffee, so that I can clean up the areas that I'm going to be in for the day if they hadn't been done the night before, so that I can journal, so that I can read, so that I can exercise, or so that I can just sit in silence before my kids wake up and the house turns chaotic until it's time for everyone to go to bed. And so that has always been sort of an up and down challenge for me, is finding the time to wake up really early to be able to have that time to myself. Because I'm usually up late. Sometimes I'm a night owl. Sometimes I feel my most creative or my most productive at night. And so it's kind of like there's this give or take. Are you going to get up really early in the morning to take that time for yourself? Or are you going to stay up late to take that time for yourself? And what I find is that maybe if I stick with a combination of both, it can sort of work out better. Needless to say, I have not been getting up at 5 a.m. I am slowly working my way up to that. Fall is usually the season where that becomes a little bit more easy for me, because here in the US, we have daylight savings. And so when the time goes back, then what would normally be a 6 a.m. sunrise is going to be a 5 a.m. sunrise. And so because of that, I'm typically able to trick myself into getting up with the sunrise and being able to wake up a little bit earlier because it won't be dark in the morning. Whether or not it's a real thing or whatever, I don't know. But I know that over the years, it has worked for me. So recently, I've been setting my alarm every week, like just 30 minutes earlier for the last couple of weeks. And so I'm down to getting up around 6:35-ish. Some days I hit the snooze until 7, but most days I've been trying to be really consistent about just letting the alarm go off, allowing myself a little bit of time to like lay around in the bed without falling back asleep, and then slowly going ahead and getting myself up in the morning. And then what I've been taking as a non-negotiable is a morning walk. And this all started at the end of July, I believe, but I started taking a morning walk. And I just realized, I've always walked in the morning. I used to walk my daughter to school several years ago. And so walking in the morning is always something that just really kind of like invigorates my day. It feels really good. I can't sit here and 100% say that because I walk in the morning, I am somehow magically like a nicer person all day long or anything like that. But the walks in the morning definitely are a way that I can sort of get my head cleared up. I can think, I can sing, I can dance, I can, whatever comes up for me during that time. But it's my time. It's my time by myself. It's not the time that I walk the dog. It's not the time that the kids come with me. It isn't any of that. It's just my time for me. And I've really loved creating that as a self-care non-negotiable. And then the other thing that I've been doing is going to the gym late at night. So late night gym sesh. And I got to be honest, I'm not there every single day like I am for my walk. Like I'm showing up for this walk every morning because I've really come to a place where I enjoy it. The nighttime, late night gym runs have been a thing. So typically in the evening after my youngest kids have gotten into bed and they are tucked in and headed well off to sleep, I will leave and I will head to the gym for about an hour or an hour and a half. I usually will do the stairs, I'll do the treadmill, and then our gym has a sauna and a jacuzzi. So I have yet to pop in the jacuzzi on a late night yet, even though I keep telling myself I'm going to do that. But I definitely go, I do my walking, I do the stairs, and then I pop in the sauna. And I've really been enjoying that. That's also felt like just self-care and stress relief for the end of the day. And so all of that to simply just say, what are you doing to create space for your own self-care that helps you to take care of your mental well-being and your physical health? I think that as solo parents, single parents, parents in general, those of us that have people that we have to tend to and pour into, on a consistent basis, that it's of extreme importance that we also take time to then refill our cup and pour into ourselves. And maybe for you, that looks like taking time to read a book. Maybe for you, that looks like taking time to make home cooked meals and enjoy fresh living food. Maybe for you, that looks like you're going out for a morning walk every single day. Maybe for you, that looks like, going to Pilates, But whatever it is just this taking of time, this giving back to yourself, whether it is for 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, or the whole day if you can. It is so necessary and such a really good rule for life to adapt is that as a parent, I need personal self-care time, and I will make time for that personal self-care, because that's also the other thing that we tell ourselves a lot of time is that I don't have time. Well, I don't have time. I don't have time to take care of myself. I don't have time to eat healthy. I don't have time to be going out in the morning for a walk. I don't have time. But I feel like that is an excuse and it is a cop-out. And I don't mean that in like a harsh way, but I mean that in the harshest way possible, because we can make time. We make time for things that we really want or need in our lives. And God forbid if it was a diagnosis of some terrible terminal illness or something of that nature, or, if all of a sudden now you have to do it because your life is somehow dependent on it, then it's like we change the game. We're going to find ways to make time to incorporate healthy eating or exercise because our life becomes at stake, because something more valuable becomes at stake than just, oh, I want to do this. And I think that that's how we sort of have to think about our self-care time as parents, especially, is that our life does depend on it. How you are taking care of yourself and the time that you spend on self-care is highly important. And this is not self-care like I washed my face today and I put cucumbers on my eyes and I did a face mask and I got my nails done, even though that feels really good. I'm talking about the genuine self-care, like journaling, like seeing a therapist, like exercising, like eating good foods, like making sure that I've drank enough water. Simple self-care things that are going to be so beneficial in the long run because your life genuinely does depend on it. And the biggest thing that I've had to battle with as a solo parent at this point is making sure that I am doing everything I can to take care of myself because I'm all they've got now. I am all they've got now. And so if I am not taking care of me, who is going to take care of me? And if you're not taking care of you, who is going to take care of you? And how then do we teach our children how to take care of themselves adequately if they don't see the example of us taking care of ourselves? So I have several non-negotiables. The kids are not going to bother me during quiet time in the house, and they try, but I have to continue to reiterate that it is quiet time in the house. And during quiet time in the house, everyone is required to be doing a quiet activity or going to sleep. And that's on period. We are not negotiating about that. We're not going to talk about that. There's not going to be any exceptions to that. We will have quiet time in the house, or mom will have her time that she is taking care of business. If I'm up early and one of my kids happens to get up in the morning before their normal time, which how many of you can relate that that shit happens on a regular? I can't even count the number of times I've been like, okay, I'm going to wake up really early tomorrow and I'm going to be productive and I'm going to do all of these things and get like all of this shit done before my kids get up. And then I get up early and no more than what, like 15, 20 minutes after I've woken up, like here comes the first one stumbling out of bed. And it's like, what the like, you never get up this early. Like it definitely feels like sabotage. And even in those moments, it's like, we're not going to accept sabotage as an excuse to not care for ourselves. So if my children tend to wake up during the time that I am trying to take self-care, or if they are up late during the time that I am needing to take self-care, guess what? We need to figure out an alternative solution to what they can do until mom's self-care time is over. So, thank you for coming to my TED Talk today. I really hope that you all are getting the self-care that you deserve and the self-care that you need, because our cups definitely need to be full in order for us to be able to pour into the lives of our children as well as the people around us. So I want to know, what does your self-care practice look like? Are you a morning self-care person or a night self-care person? And how are you taking time to care for yourself on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and on a monthly basis? Because we can do all of these things simultaneously, but they can be different things that we do during each of those moments. For the day, for the week, and for the month, what are your self-care practices? And as I am filming this, I am about to tap into mine. So thank you guys for rolling with me today, and I will see you guys next time. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Don't forget to take care of yourself. And until next time, my friends, it's all love. Bye now.